Hi, and good morning, everyone. Good morning, Sal Maiorana. Welcome to Benigni and Sabres, presented by FanDuel. My goodness.
Wow.
I mean,
I
yeah,
think
wow.
you do have to kind of believe in the Sabres a little bit after that performance last night. That was something else, Adam. Man, oh man.
And within the game itself, to have the start that they did, and then rebound is an understatement to what this team
Yeah.
did and how it responded. And there's so many facets to this. Welcome to you. We're live here on YouTube this morning. Invite everyone to kind of jump on. We have 7 people already, I see, and we kind of put this together on the fly in terms of the live performance because given what went down last night, we thought it deserved it. So we're going to go 30 minutes here and take comments and questions. Feel free to jump in as we go. But there were aspects to this game, Sal. I mean, you saw their worst and their best. The best of the postseason.
Sure did.
All wrapped into one. So I don't know how you want to start this, but maybe we address with the start of the game itself, where you have to get Lyon out of there, right? I mean, he does the exact right thing there. We'll just stop the bleeding immediately. You didn't know what you were going to get out of Luukkonen since he had been pulled from the previous game. But the way in which the team responded, obviously, I mean, it's historic how they responded, actually. What are they, the first team in NHL history to be down by multiple goals on the road in a playoff game and win by at least 5?
Yeah.
It never happened.
There was a lot of things that were kind of eye-opening in this game, but you're right. I mean, they get again for the 5th time in 6 games, they scored the first goal, and that goal has come. That's the 3rd time that first goal has come in the first 2 minutes of the game. So, I mean, they're getting off to these great starts and getting the early goal. And then, of course, just like the other 5 games that happened, Montreal gets the next one. This one, it took 68 seconds, I think it was, whatever it was, to tie the game. And you're like, Jesus, just when they feel like, okay, we've got some momentum, keep it. And then the roof just caves in, right? I mean, the 3 shots in a row get past Lyon. They were all, I think, brutal goals. I mean, I think you fault him. I mean, I think you got to fault him on every one, Adam. There should have been a save on every one.
At least 2 of the 3. At least 2 of the 3.
Right. So that was just, let's face it. At that point, now this team has been a good comeback team all year. We've seen them do it. We've seen them do it in the postseason, right? Game 1 against Boston, the perfect example. So it wasn't time to quit on the Sabres. There was still a chance. But then you see he has to pull Lyon. You're right. But you see UPL skating into the crease. I mean, honestly, Sabres fans, I mean, are you feeling good about that situation given how UPL has struggled a few times in the playoffs? No, it felt like they were going to get run out of the building.
Yeah.
And for them to respond the way they did, they did a nice job when UPL first came in. Montreal really didn't get any pressure right away. I'm not sure he even got tested the rest of the period. And then, I told you off air, I thought the key goal was the Zucker goal. Yeah. I mean, to get that one before the period ended, it felt like, okay, you got it. You got back into the game. And Lindy Ruff was correct when he said in his post game, outside of the score sheet, they actually played a really good first period. I mean, their goalie just stunk. But the rest of the team actually played a good first period. So to get the Zucker goal, I thought, Adam, was a big one because it gave them some momentum and some hope for the rest of the night.
That's what I had said. When they went down 3-1, they make the change, and you see the team settling down. I said, I was actually out to dinner last night, but like camped in the corner of a pub and, fully focused on the game. I couldn't hear the commentary all that well, but the guy I was with, I said, listen, all you got to do is get one here. Just get one. Just make it a 1-goal game. They clearly had settled down, and that was huge. I mean, there's so many ways we could go with this. When they come out, it's the second period, really, right?
Yeah.
Along with the third, but the second period, I mean, and there were portions of it, Sal, where that's the best I've seen this team play. Regular season, postseason, topping Game 6 against Boston. There was one stretch in the second period where they were so dominant. I mean, the Canadians were like flat-footed. They were swarming. So there's a lot that goes into this, but the team response and the players obviously deserve the credit. Lindy Ruff deserves a ton of credit here, man.
Oh, yeah, we could talk about the lineup changes.
Having the
Holy
sense,
smokes.
to keep them off of the ice, kind of keep everything shrouded, right? The mentality of the team itself, how he's managing that. He's blowing up his line combinations, completely changing things around, keeping everything sort of under wraps. And it all kind of, and they struggle at the beginning, largely because of Lyon. But then they come out, and it takes a minute for everything to kind of set in. But those combinations, and to put Thompson and Benson together, we can go any way you want with this. But, I mean, it just made so much sense and translated it in an unbelievable way.
Yeah, I mean, let's just go right there. I mean, he knew he needed to do something, especially on that top line. I mean, Thompson and Tuck with Krebs have just not played well. So I fully understood what he was doing to break that up. And I thought the move to put Benson there was tremendous. I mean, that's the kind of guy that Thompson really, really needs on that line. A guy who's a pest, who can go in, win the puck, just create havoc. And it turned out, as you look at the box score, those two guys each had 6 shots on goal in the game. So it was working. They were getting control of the puck. They were creating opportunities. Thompson got the empty netter, but Benson got the tying goal. So that was great. Now, the concern, well, first of all, I did not expect him to change all 4 lines. That was really shocking. The only concern I had when the lineup came out was it was a great idea to put Benson with Thompson. Clearly, Benson's been their best player. But to break up the Benson, Norris, Doan line, which had been the best one in the playoffs, that came with a little bit of risk, right? Because every time that line's been on the ice, they've been really good. And now you've broken that up. So that was the only trepidation I had. But of course, the results speak for themselves. And, the other line that was tremendous, finally, right? Zucker and Quinn together, and they had Helenius. I'm never going to get his name. Helenius. They had Helenius on that line. That line produced 4 goals and 2 assists. So the way he maneuvered it was, in the end, you look back 2020 vision, it looked fantastic, and he pushed all the right buttons. But yeah, I was a little concerned at first when he broke up that one main line. I would have maybe, if it was me, I maybe would have put Helenius on that top line as opposed to Benson. But look, I'm not going to argue. What he did worked.
Well, I mean, Benson's the kind of guy who obviously, what a spark plug he's been for this team. And the kid does all the dirty work. I mean, it makes sense, right? That scrappy type of player who's also gifted from an offensive standpoint, right? To create puck pressure, to dig the puck out, that sort of a thing. And then to someone like that to feed Thompson, right? To ignite. And then you gave the example with the shots on goal, how it translated. I mean, it was sort of, he has options. There's a lot of guys. This is a tremendously talented team, and it had just kind of gone stagnant in some key areas. But he's trying to wake up his best players, right? And to an extent, he did. I mean, Thompson, it's obvious. Tuck, we can talk about, but he still looked more engaged. It didn't translate to the score sheet. Had a couple of great chances, one of them on a breakaway. But how about Dahlin's? I mean, you got Tage with, a goal and 3 assists, right?
Yeah, Dahlin.
And you've got Dahlin with 4 assists. And the first goal where he, again, what an unbelievable play where he comes down low and makes that move. Now you get them going, and you get someone like Jack Quinn going, who has been so snake bit. I mean, imagine if Quinn had been productive as this postseason had gone on and hadn't given up the extra pass too many times, and he's just
imagine if they had gotten good goaltending, we wouldn't have a game 7. We wouldn't have a game 7. But yeah, I mean, you're everything you said is absolutely correct. Quinn was it was so good to see him get on the score sheet there. The thing with the top line, there's so many people that think, the first line's got to be the French Connection, right? You got to be just offense. No, the first line doesn't have to have 3 great offensive players. And Benson is a great fit for that top line because of all the dirty work he does. You need a guy like that, I think, to get your big guys the puck. That's what I loved about how that first line played. And Benson was an ideal choice to go up there. And here's the thing about Benson. you look at his numbers the first couple of years he's been in the league. He's not an offensive wizard in any way. However, in the postseason, he has been a very good offensive player. He's scoring goals. He's getting assists. He's really done a great job. And the goal he scored was great. Right. Once again, right place, right time, didn't miss. Right. I mean, it was that puck was bouncing a little bit. And he didn't get his full stick on it. It happened to just kind of flutter just inside the post, but he was in the right place at the right time to bang in a rebound, tie game. And from that moment on, Sabres just dominated. That was a minute into the second period, and the Canadians were never in it the rest of the way. It's crazy how that game flipped.
We talk about the line combinations and the offense and the 8 goals, right? But it's what they didn't allow too, right? So they give up 3 early. But one of the big themes with this series and problems for Buffalo has been defending well consistently, right? Getting out of position. They corrected that issue as well in a very significant way. I mean, Montreal
they shut them out the last 50 minutes of the game.
Right.
Last 50 minutes of the game, Montreal did not score. That's incredible for a team of that much offensive skill to not score.
So with defensive zone coverage, the way they shored that up, that is as encouraging a sign to me as what they did offensively in this game, given the gaps they've played with in this series.
Well, they got back to playing with desperation, too. They had 18 block shots in this game. They had 27 when they won Game 4. That's how you got to play in a Game 7, and we saw. They played knowing that this was their season. It was a lot of desperation. And, Montreal, it wasn't perfect. There were certainly still some opportunities. But in this game, I thought one of the big differences in this game, Adam, is Montreal misfired a lot, too. I mean, they had opportunities. There were guys in those high danger areas. And this time the pucks were going wide. They weren't going on, at least after the first 10 minutes, when everything was going in. They started to misfire. They had some great chances. And, UPL did make a few big saves. There was one in the second period. I think it was 3-3 still. I forget. I might have been on Anderson, but I forget who it was exactly. He made a great save to keep Buffalo in the lead. And then they took off from there. So that was huge for UPL. I mean, he got tested. I don't think he got tested in a huge way, but he made the saves that he had to make, right? I mean, they locked it down. He only faced 18 shots in the last 50 minutes of the game. So that was a nice job. You're right, all around for the defense.
So now we have Tom Kopp 668 with a comment, but now they have to win with home ice disadvantage. And look, it clearly, and it's not just them, right? Montreal fits the same description with what's going on with them and it's happening around with other series as well. But it's particularly acute when it comes to the Buffalo Sabres, who were 2-4 at home in these playoffs, and now 5-1 on the road. I mean, Ruff joked after the game. Ruff joked after the game. We're trying to work it out so we can just stay up here and play the seventh.
These two teams are a combined 10-3 in their road games in this playoff. I mean, that's crazy. It's crazy. My suggestion is they should, when they get back to Buffalo at some point, they probably got back last night, just drive to Boston or to Rochester, get a hotel in Rochester, stay there a couple days, and then bus into Buffalo Monday night for the game. Maybe that'll be it'll feel like a road game to them. I mean, he was joking about that, but man, they've got to figure it out, Adam. I mean, you've got home ice. You won the division. You won the hardest division in the NHL this year for this moment, to have home ice advantage if a series were to get to 7 games. And unfortunately, Buffalo has not done anything with their home ice advantage. They're 2-4, like you pointed out. And you can make the case, Adam, that they have been for shit in all but one of their home games. They were pretty good in game 1 against Montreal, right? The first game against Boston, they were horrible until they exploded for 4 goals in the 10 minutes. That game was terrible. The other 2 against Boston were losses. And then in this series, again, the game 1, they played well. It's the only home game where I think they actually played well in front of the fans at KeyBank Center. So let's get that straightened out, because they've got to win this game where it's off to the golf course, man.
Well, you talked about how Ruff had joked about it, but he was pretty serious when he said that they were going to treat it like a road game. So I would expect them now, as we record this, it's 10:15. I looked before we popped on. I still get the updates from the Sabres or whatever in terms of Ruff's availability. I know he's available at some point today, and I'm sure he's going to outline exactly what they're doing, but they're not staying at home tonight. That team's going to be in a hotel. No. I mean, he's going to try and do his best to emulate a road environment. And it makes sense because there's more to this. I mean, we have talked about how home ice advantage has sort of dissipated largely, and not just in hockey, because these buildings are so similar now. And you know what? Crowd noise too. Look at that environment in Montreal and what it is in Buffalo, just an electric atmosphere, and taking nothing away from the fans, the enthusiasm, all of that. I mean, football is the sport where it really translates the most with the crowd noise, where it specifically impacts the game and the offense's ability to communicate. It's not that way in the National Hockey League. I mean, these guys have been exposed to so many hostile environments or whatever. It's not going to impact things as it does, as you see it impact things in football, right? And teams that are actually, and Ruff has spoken to this specifically, teams that are on the road, it's in the CBA that these guys stay in 5-star hotels when they're on the road. Okay, so they're in a luxury hotel. They get rest. There's no distraction with family, friends, whatever. So it's hotel, meeting room, rink, and that's it. And I wouldn't think it would play out as, as starkly as it has in these playoffs and with these two teams in particular. But I think there are distinct advantages to being on the road when you're talking about the level of focus and preparation specifically and all of that, speaking to the environment, right? And if you create, the margins are so thin, Sal, as they're so thin, right? Where you give a little bit of an edge to one or the other in terms of that preparation. And I feel like that's what we're seeing play out here in this series and beyond.
The other point to make here too is he backed off. I mean, at this time of year, this is like the NFL when there's so many walkthrough practices at the end of the season because you can't keep beating on these guys over and over. We're in the middle of May in the NHL. The Sabres have now played 82 plus 12, 94 hockey games plus the preseason. They don't need to be on the ice the morning of a game. They just don't. I mean, they'll probably be maybe they'll be on the ice today for a little while, but for this game, there was no pregame skate in the morning on Sunday or whatever, Saturday morning. They had a meeting. They came to the rink one time for the game, and there you go. That's what he probably should do here. There's no need to go out there and get your morning skate and this and that. It's your building. You know the ice at your building. You don't need to go out there for a morning skate come Monday morning. So do the same thing you did in Montreal over the weekend, and hopefully that will translate to finally a good performance on home ice, because what they've been doing up to this point in their home games clearly hasn't been working. Yeah. Now, and part of that too is they're playing a really talented team, right? I mean, you can't overlook the fact that these two teams are as evenly matched as two teams could be in the postseason. They really are. So it's just going to come down to who's going to get the lucky bounce Monday night, who's going to come just a fraction more prepared to play the game, and which goaltender will not screw up.
That was right? The next point.
Because Dobish finally melted down last night. I mean, finally they got to him and drove him out of the net for the first time in the series.
That's it, right? So what's going to happen in net? And that is exactly where I was going next. And pointing out that, I mean, Dobish he's been better than each of Buffalo's goaltenders, and the Lyon and Luukkonen to this point. But they got to him, right? He's young. So you wonder how that's going to impact things. And I don't think there's any question you have to come back with Luukkonen in this game. You can't put Lyon back in there after he gave up 3 like that early and you pulled him. You have to, I mean, and Luukkonen's the guy who you were hoping was going to really carry you through the postseason. And so now the ball's back in his court, so to speak. And this is his opportunity in a massive, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I'm going to lose sleep a little bit over that issue, given how inconsistent he's been.
I know. I mean, it's crazy. You think about the swings in this series with the goaltending. There are some moments where we've been sitting here saying they absolutely have to play Lyon, and then it's flipped around. They absolutely have to play UPL. Well, now we're back on the UPL train. Look, this is the guy they paid, right? You can piss about the contract all you want. I guess they had to do it when his contract came up. I know a lot of people were negative about it and just didn't think he was worth the money. Well, you're paying this guy whatever. He's making $4.7 million, a whole lot more than what Alex Lyon is making. He's got to be your guy now. You've got to turn to him. He's going to have to deliver in this moment. And I know he's young. This is his first postseason, run for the Sabres. But this is the guy that you believed in when you re-signed him, whatever it was, a couple of years ago. Go out and play the way you think he can play. Look, during the regular season, Adam, he had a good year. I think he finished 9th in the league in goals against. He was like 10th in save percentage. He was better than Lyon during the regular season. So, it's been really crazy inconsistent, both guys in the postseason. You just have to hope that he can show up, tomorrow night and just be a number one goaltender for the night. Yeah, that's what you hope. And you hope that Dober plays like a rookie.
And with these new combinations, right? And now, St. Louis is going to do more to counter it. It's a chess match, right? But you'd like to think that the Sabres are really onto something here. You would hope, and I'm hoping, and I think that a lot of what they got to finally in this series, aside from the first 10 minutes, that level of domination and consistency, that can carry over. I mean, I think there's a lot to the changes that he made weren't tweaks. You're talking wholesale changes with these line combinations. Yeah. And it clearly unlocked a lot of what's been lacking with this team on both ends of the ice, quite frankly. You cannot, I know I brought this point up earlier, I don't think that you can overstate responsibility in the defensive zone, keeping it simple, that sort of a thing. Hearing Darlene talk about it after the game. There's a lot that Ruff orchestrated and then the team executed that makes me optimistic about Monday night. That the pendulum may have shifted in this matchup in Buffalo's favor.
Of course, we also have to worry about what happened in the Boston series, which I told you after they blew them out in whatever that was, game 3. I forget now which game it was. When they blew them out, what did I say? Now I'm worried about the next game because the Bruins were going to push back. Well, after getting embarrassed the way they did last night, Montreal is going to come back strong. So that's something to pay attention to. There's a comment here about, great win. Tuch continued his vanishing act. For a top 6 forward to have no points is quite a feat. And yeah, that is true. He continues to struggle, but I'll say this about Tuch, Adam. I don't know how you saw it last night. I thought he was better. He had more opportunities. I wish he had cashed the breakaway when he came out of the penalty box. For whatever reason, he just got too deep on the goaltender, and the goaltender made a nice save on that one. So it would have been nice to cash that one in, but at least to me, he looked a little more engaged. I think he ended up with 3 or 4 shots on goal, so he was involved in it. I thought he played better, and it sucks that he hasn't scored a point in the series, but last night he had a bunch of other teammates who picked him up, so that was at least a good sign moving forward here.
It's a clear lack of confidence for Tuch at this point, and
that's what Ruff said.
Yeah.
Which is hard for me to believe. The guy's 30 years old. He's played in the Stanley Cup final, right, for Vegas. I don't know why he would lack confidence. I mean, you could say that about a young, like Quinn. That would be a good thing to say about someone like Quinn, who's young. He was going through it until last night. I didn't quite understand Ruff's take on how Tuch has lost confidence. Like, why would a 30-year-old veteran with all that experience have lost confidence? Did you agree with that? I mean, hey, who knows? He knows more than we do, but I was surprised by that comment.
It's hard for me to say that because for the last couple of years, I'm involved in more programming like this as opposed to being down at the rink. So I haven't had the opportunity to be around Tuch in the room. I invited Paul Hamilton to join us from GR. He's getting on a train and coming back from Montreal. And it's like when we put this show together, one of the reasons I thought you would be great here is because, from a Bills perspective, is because you're on the road with the team. You're in the locker room. You're talking firsthand, right? And so I was hoping to have Paul on. I don't have that access right now. I haven't talked to Tuch. I mean, I can tell you what I see, but I can't ask him what's going on inside his head. That I don't have that vibe. But he's kind of playing that way. I thought the back check on the Bolduc goal in Montreal earlier in the series was that game 3 or 4, whatever it was, when he and Thompson were both lagging behind him. That's a window to me, right? Is it fatigue? Is he dealing with something else that we don't know about? That's the other. I mean, that
it could be.
That fits a lot of players at this time in the postseason. So I can't put my finger on it. I know what's indisputable. Wouldn't it be nice if he showed up on the score sheet in a big way Monday night?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, now they need him, right? The two big guys, Dahlin and Thompson showed up in spades last night. They were great. They combined for 9 points in the game. That's what you need your superstars to do. And they are superstars. People might want to argue that point. Those two players are NHL superstars at this stage. So it would be nice if Tuck, who is not I wouldn't call Tuck a superstar, but Tuck has been a very, very good player in the NHL pretty much his whole career. It's time for him this could be the last game he plays as a Buffalo Sabre. So, maybe extend your time with the Sabres and come out and play the kind of game that we've seen him play, so many times during his stay in Buffalo. They need him. They need him to jump on board here. And then, let's hope that if these combinations stay the way they are, which I think they should, right, Adam? He shouldn't.
I wouldn't change a thing.
By the way, the other thing we didn't even talk about yet, how about Zach Metza going in there? They've been screwing around with that number 6 defenseman the whole postseason. I've seen all kinds of different guys, Stanley and Shen, and now it's Metza. Metza gave them exactly what they need, just simple defensive play. He doesn't need to join the rush and even though he scored a goal on the power play at the end of the game, just play a steady defensive game. He ended up playing 12 minutes in that game, and he was fine. Did you notice Metza screwing up one time? Because that's what he brings. He's a young kid, but he brings consistency. I saw this in Rochester for a couple of years when he was here. He was one of their most consistent, steady guys every single night. And that's kind of what he's been since he's been up with the Sabres. So I would expect him to be back in the lineup too.
Yeah, when you've had issues in your own end, the way the Sabres have, against this team in particular, that's the type of play they need. Simple, responsible defensive play. And defensemen joining the rush and being up ice. Okay, that's been part of this team's success. You saw it with Dahlin on the opening goal, for example. But they have to make sure they're responsible in how they implement that. And they have in large part. But when Dahlin talked about keeping it simple, that's one of the big reasons, one of the things he's talking about. In his own end, defend, get control of the puck, responsible outlet pass into transition.
Yeah. And
not running around and getting out of position. We've seen them out of position too much in their own end in this series, and they can't afford that. Montreal will burn them in a huge way Monday night or any other night if you get out of position in your own end. They're way too talented.
Another guy we should bring up too is Power. I mean, people rag on Power for so much, but Owen Power is who he is. He is a defensive defenseman. That's what he does. He makes the simple plays. He's usually in the right spot. He's not going to run guys through the boards. I know people can't stand that because he's a big guy, and you would think that would be part of his game, but it just never has been part of his game. But the guy is, again, he's like Metza. He's generally really consistent in what he does, and he's playing through after that tumble he took into the boards in Game 5. It was pretty clear. The guys talked about it after the game that he's in pain. He's playing with an injury. I don't know if it's an injury, but he's certainly in some discomfort. I thought he was rock solid too. I mean, he gets overlooked and he gets ragged on so much by fans. But think about if they didn't have Owen Power last night, what they would have been up against, putting Metza and maybe Logan Stanley in the game. That's not a good spot to be in. So I want to give a little shout out to Power for just being the guy that he is. He's fine. He's not a problem on this team.
You're watching a live edition, Believe in Sabres. Adam Benigni of WGRZ TV and Sports Talk Live Buffalo. Sal Maiorana, the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, with you for a couple of more minutes here. We can see 107 of you are on this right now.
On a Sunday morning.
On a Sunday morning. So that exemplifies a lot of things. The interest in this series right now, the enthusiasm of the fan base with Game 7 coming up Monday night at KeyBank Center. In Buffalo. We would invite you with a quick question or comment. If you have anything you'd like to add here to the discussion, we're approaching 30 minutes, so we're going to wrap this shortly, but first of all, we appreciate you listening and jumping on board and checking this out, and would welcome any comments and questions at this point. Sal and I have given our opinions during the course of the 30 minutes. We can revisit some of that as we have a lot of viewership cycling at this point. But want you to jump in and add your thoughts, comments, questions, anything, again, live here on Believe in Sabres.
How about the 2 shots that Quinn scored on?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Jack Quinn is supposed to bring to your team, right? I mean, he had not scored a goal in the first 11 games. He was driving you and I know for sure, and I'm sure a million Sabres fans crazy with the overpassing, the unwillingness to shoot when he seems to be open in the slot or in a good area to shoot from. And then last night, finally, we saw, because Quinn he's a great shooter. We know this kid can shoot the puck. That's what he does. And those 2 goals he scored at him, man, you couldn't have seen 2 prettier goals. The one-timer on the power play top shelf, and then the go-ahead goal was, another beautiful one-timer on the power play. Just, man, if that kid can do that and keep that going, that'll be a huge boost for the Sabres in this game coming up. And if they win against Carolina in the finals, conference finals.
And how about the power play in general? 4 for 6.
Yeah. 4 for 6.
Where it's been such a problem. What was once a liability is becoming an asset here.
You know what was good last night, Adam? They did tweak the entries a little bit. They did the usual back pass, but a lot of times last night, it wasn't the guy rushing the puck in and then trying to get it to a spot in the zone. Immediately he got to the line and dished it off to one of the wingers, if you noticed. And that seemed to help. As long as that pass got through to the guy that he was passing to, they were able to get established. So that was a little tweak that I think he made on the rush, and it helped because they had much better zone time on their power play. Not quite the zone time that Montreal gets when they're on a power play, because holy shit, Adam, when they're on a power play, it's a shooting gallery, man. They just keep the puck in the end the whole 2 minutes. But I thought Buffalo was a little closer to what Montreal does in the power play last night, and that was good to see too.
So a lot to carry over. I mean, when you're that dominant, but there were specific elements of this, the change of the line combinations, little tweaks like that. Now, I mean, the Canadians figured it out as it was happening, couldn't do anything about it. They'll come back and they'll have a response of their own. This is an excellent team. They've been the better team for larger chunks of this series, Montreal has. But
I agree.
Buffalo unlocked it in a lot of ways last night. And it just looking towards, I'm not even thinking about Carolina at this point. That's a whole separate discussion, other than the fact that the degree of rest they've had. I did have someone ask me about that last night. And, I think they'd be vulnerable in game 1 because of it, Carolina.
Yeah, exactly.
But as the series settles down,
they're the better team. And,
right.
Sean, we had Sean McDonough on the other day, and on the broadcast last night, it came around that no matter which one of these teams advances, neither one of them are going to see the kind of time and space that they had in this series against each other, because Carolina shuts everything down. Mm-hmm. It's going to be really difficult for both, even though these teams are both really good on offense, Buffalo and Montreal. It's going to be a different animal against Carolina because they just play such great defense. Their goaltender is probably the best goalie still playing in these playoffs in Anderson. So whoever wins this series will find a very different style of play they'll have to come around to in the Eastern Conference Finals. But, Adam, how about let's just get there, and we'll worry about that when they get there. And let's hope they do, because that would be just awesome for the team and for the fans.
Yeah, let's hope they have that problem, right?
Yes, exactly.
And, all right, so 7:30 Monday night. We're going to wrap this up
Which
now.
Which is better than 8:20, right? Better than 8:20,
that's
like last night.
That's absolutely
true.
Oh,
man.
All right, FanDuel, presenting sponsor for this show and others here on the Believe Network of podcasts, has Buffalo just a slight favorite at this point in Game 7 at home, despite the fact that both of these teams have played so much better on the road this postseason. Sabres at -115, Canadians -104. That is an extremely tight margin. That's essentially a pick.
That's really close.
Rarely
Rarely are both teams minus, right? You don't see that too often.
So this is going to be
kind of the betting favorite.
this is a special night. It's going to be a special night on Monday.
Sabres have only won one Game 7 in their history. I happened to be in the building and covered that game against Ottawa, the Derek Plant goal. Just unbelievable night that was. But, yeah, they've only won one Game 7, Adam, so it'd be nice to get number 2 here.
Sports Talk Live Buffalo going to be on with John Scott, Paul Hamilton as well, Vic Carucci. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, winds up being a perfect pregame opportunity. So we're going to be live from KeyBank Center with that. Looking forward to it. Hope you join us on Channel 2 again. Sports Talk Live Buffalo at 7. Sal with some terrific breakdowns in the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle as well. Working the Bills beat, but man, you're deep on the hockey coverage at this point, which has been great.
Enjoying it. Hope to be in the building now if they advance, but we'll see. I still have to get a press credential, but again, we'll worry about that after Monday night, assuming they can get it through here.
All right. So thanks so much to all of you, upwards of 100 plus, joining us here live, sort of unscheduled, our decision to kind of do this on the fly. It's been a great half hour, 36 minutes at this point, and we will continue our coverage here, Believe in Sabres, after each one of these games as well. So this has been great. This show has been very successful, and it's only just kind of developed toward the end of the regular season and into the postseason. So we thank you for your support. Like, subscribe, all of that, and be with us here on Believe in Sabres as it's Game 7, 7:30 Monday night, KeyBank Center, Sabres Canadiens in Buffalo. For Sal Maiorana, the Rochester DNC, I'm Adam Benigni, WGRZ TV, Sports Talk Live Buffalo. Thanks for being with us live here on YouTube. Believe in Sabres, presented by FanDuel.